Have you ever had a moment where you knew you had something valuable to say in English, something smart, something real, but your mouth just would not cooperate? The words felt trapped. Your brain got loud. And suddenly you were not thinking about your idea anymore. You were thinking about your English. You were thinking about your accent, your grammar, your speed, your mistakes. And that feeling is brutal because it makes you feel smaller than you actually are. A lot of adult learners tell me the same thing, in different words. They say, "Tom, I understand everything. I can read articles, I can watch videos, I can do my job. But when I speak, I freeze. Or I sound simple. Or I feel like I lose part of my personality." And I get it. That gap between what you can understand and what you can express can feel like a wall. Today, I want to tell you a story that is not just interesting history. It is a story about the inside of a mind. It is about brilliance, yes, but also loneliness, pressure, and the cost of being different. It is the story of Nikola Tesla. And while you listen, I want you to notice something. Not just the facts. Notice the human stuff. Notice the emotions, the choices, the misunderstandings, the moments where someone has a vision but cannot make the world see it yet. Because honestly, that feeling is not so different from what many English learners feel. You have more in your head than you can easily express, and that can be painful. So take a breath, let your shoulders drop. You do not have to catch every word. You do not have to be perfect. Just stay with me and let the story pull you forward. Nikola Tesla was born in the middle of the 19th century in a small village that was part of the Austrian Empire at the time. Today, that region is connected to modern-day Croatia, and his family was Serbian. Right away, you can feel how complicated identity and place were, even before Tesla became famous. He grew up in a world where borders shifted, where politics and culture were messy, and where a person could be seen as an outsider depending on where they were standing. His father was a priest, a serious man who wanted Tesla to follow a traditional path. His mother, though, was different in a quiet way. She did not have formal schooling, but she was incredibly clever with her hands. She made tools. She built little devices to solve everyday problems. Tesla later said he got his inventive mind from her, from watching her create things out of almost nothing. I love that because it reminds me that intelligence is not always academic. Sometimes it is practical. Sometimes it is creative. Sometimes it is simply the ability to see a problem and think, there has to be a better way. Even as a kid, Tesla seemed to experience the world differently. He had a powerful imagination. He could picture machines in his head in extreme detail, not just vague ideas, but complete designs. And here is something that matters, especially if you are an adult learner who overthinks. Tesla did not only imagine things, he felt them. His mind was intense. He had strong sensory experiences. He could get overwhelmed. He could become obsessed with patterns and routines. Some people today look back and wonder if he had traits we might now describe in a modern psychological way. We cannot diagnose someone from history, of course, but we can say this: he was not living in a calm mind. As a young man, Tesla studied engineering. He was brilliant, but his life was not smooth. He worked hard, pushed himself, and sometimes burned out. He also developed habits that made life difficult. He could become intensely focused, but also intensely isolated. And this is one of the first big themes in his story. Genius sounds romantic when we say it in a movie trailer. But in real life, being exceptional can be lonely. It can make relationships harder. It can make the normal world feel slow, boring, or frustrating. Eventually, Tesla moved toward the place where many ambitious people moved at that time. The United States, specifically New York. Imagine that moment. A young immigrant arriving in a loud, busy city, carrying big ideas, speaking a different version of English, dealing with a different rhythm of life. People think immigrants arrive with confidence. Usually they arrive with courage. And courage is different. If you have ever lived abroad or worked in an international company, you know what I mean. You may look fine on the outside. You may even perform well, but inside, you are constantly adjusting. You are constantly watching people, trying to understand what is normal here, what is polite here, what sounds confident here. And if your English is not fully natural yet, you may feel like you are doing life with one hand tied behind your back. You can do it, but it takes more energy. When Tesla arrived in New York, he went to work for Thomas Edison, and this is where the story gets famous. Edison was already a powerful name. He was practical, business-minded, and very good at turning inventions into products. He also built a public image. Edison understood something that is still true today. Ideas do not win by themselves. Communication wins, marketing wins, networks win, timing wins. And if you are an English learner, this part is important. Being right is not always enough. People need to understand you. People need to trust you. People need to feel your message. Tesla worked hard, but the relationship did not last. They had different visions of how electricity should be distributed. Edison supported direct current, a system that worked well for certain things, but struggled with long-distance power transmission. Tesla believed alternating current was the future because it could send electricity over long distances more efficiently. This disagreement became something bigger than science. It became personal. It became political. It became what people later called the War of the Currents. Edison fought hard for his system. Tesla, supported later by George Westinghouse, pushed for alternating current. And the fight was not polite. Edison used fear. He tried to convince the public that alternating current was dangerous. He did demonstrations. He used shocking images. He wanted people to feel afraid. Again, notice the human part. The world is not always guided by truth. It is guided by emotion. Now, let me pause for a second and talk directly to you as a language learner, because this is something I see all the time. Many adult learners assume that if they just improve grammar and vocabulary, everything will be fine. But in real life, what changes your speaking is not just knowledge. It is your relationship with fear. It is whether you can stay calm when you feel judged. It is whether you can keep talking even when your sentence is not perfect. Tesla had incredible knowledge, but he struggled with the human side of the world. He struggled with social games. He struggled with business. He struggled with the emotional manipulation happening around him. He had the vision, but not always the practical power to control how that vision was received. And still, alternating current won. It became the foundation of modern electrical systems. Tesla's ideas powered cities. His work helped shape the world you live in now, even if most people cannot explain how. And yet, here is the painful part. Winning in history does not always mean winning in life. Tesla had moments where he was celebrated. He gave speeches. He did dramatic demonstrations. People watched him light bulbs without wires. They looked at him like he was a magician. Imagine standing in front of a crowd and showing them something that feels impossible. That is a special kind of power. But Tesla's power was not stable because it depended on money, support, and trust. And those things can disappear fast. At one point, Tesla worked on a project that still feels like science fiction. He wanted to transmit energy wirelessly. He built a large tower on Long Island called Wardenclyffe Tower. His dream was huge, not just wireless power, but global communication. He imagined a world where information could travel instantly. Think about that. He was imagining a connected world long before modern technology made it normal. But building dreams costs money, and investors want results. They want timelines. They want clear products. Tesla was not always good at giving them that. He was a visionary, not a salesman. He believed in the future, but he did not always speak the language of business. And this is where the price of genius starts to show itself more clearly. When you are far ahead of the world, you can look crazy. When your idea is too new, people cannot measure it. They cannot compare it to something they already know. And in a way, English learners experience a similar thing inside themselves. You might have a very advanced thought in your native language. But in English, the best you can do in the moment is something simpler. So you sound less intelligent than you are. You feel misunderstood. You feel like people cannot see the real you. That mismatch is frustrating. And if you are not careful, it can make you quiet. It can make you hold back. It can make you choose safe, small sentences because you do not want to sound wrong. Tesla's mismatch was not about English, of course. It was about time. His mind lived in the future. The world lived in the present. And the gap between those two places can be lonely. Over time, Tesla lost financial support. The tower was never completed the way he wanted. His projects became less and less connected to business success. Meanwhile, other inventors, other companies, and other systems moved forward. Tesla continued thinking, continued imagining, continued working, but his public influence weakened. And this part of his story is uncomfortable because it forces us to face a truth we do not like. Being brilliant does not guarantee being supported. Being talented does not guarantee being understood. Being right does not guarantee being rewarded. If you are listening to this while trying to improve your English, maybe you know that feeling in a different form. You work hard, you study, you watch videos, you practice, and sometimes it still feels like people do not notice your progress. Or they interrupt you, or they answer your question too quickly, like they do not have time. Or you go to a meeting and you have an idea, but someone else says it in a smoother way, and suddenly the room listens to them. That hurts. And I want you to know that if you have felt that, you are not being dramatic. That is a real experience. Language is tied to identity. When your language feels limited, you can feel limited. Now, quick moment, and then we will jump right back into the story. If you have been listening and thinking, yeah, this is exactly how I feel sometimes, do me a favor. Subscribe, like the video, and if you are comfortable, tell me in the comments where you feel stuck when speaking. Is it meetings, small talk, phone calls, introductions, telling stories, arguing your point? I read those, and it helps me make episodes that actually match your real life. All right, back to Tesla. In his later years, Tesla became more isolated. He lived in hotels. He avoided close relationships. He had strict routines. He was known for feeding pigeons in the park, and he seemed to care more about them than about most people. Some people saw him as eccentric. Some saw him as a forgotten genius. Some saw him as someone who had lost his mind. But I want to be careful here. It is easy to judge someone's life from the outside. It is easy to turn a complicated human into a simple story. Hero or failure, genius or crazy, winner or loser. Real life is messier than that. Tesla continued to think about inventions and future technology. He made claims that sounded extreme. Some of his ideas were misunderstood. Some were exaggerated by journalists. Some were probably just ideas that were not ready. And he became a figure that people could project onto. For some, he was proof that society does not value true genius. For others, he was a warning about obsession. And here is the part I want to connect back to you again. When you speak English, you are also being interpreted. People do not just hear your words. They guess your confidence. They guess your personality. They guess your competence. And sometimes they guess wrong. Maybe you are quiet because you are translating in your head. They think you are shy. Maybe you speak directly because your English is simple. They think you are rude. Maybe you do not use small talk because it feels unnatural. They think you are cold. This happens all the time. And it is one reason adult learners feel tired. You are not only speaking, you are managing an image. Tesla dealt with image too, but on a huge scale. And he did not always manage it well. He did not always protect himself. He trusted certain people too much, and he ignored practical steps that could have helped him. And the world, being the world, moved on. He died alone in a hotel room in 1943. After his death, people went through his papers. His reputation slowly changed. Over time, more people began to recognize how much he contributed. Today, Tesla is almost a legend. His name is used for companies, for cars, for technology. People quote him. People make documentaries about him. They make him a symbol. But even if his name is famous now, I think the emotional truth of his life still matters. The price of genius was not just hard work. It was also disconnection. It was also misunderstanding. It was also the feeling of carrying something huge inside you and not being able to fully bring it into the world. And that, to me, is why this story is powerful for adult English learners. Because you may not be inventing electricity, but you are carrying a full personality inside you, a full mind, a full history, a sense of humor, opinions, values, skills, warmth. And when English blocks you, it can feel like you are separated from yourself. So, what do we do with that? How do we use this story in a way that helps you speak more naturally, more confidently, more like you? The first thing is to accept something that sounds simple, but is actually hard. You cannot wait to feel ready. Tesla did not wait until the world was ready. He built anyway. He spoke anyway. He showed people impossible things anyway. And yes, he paid a price. But he also created impact. In language learning, if you wait until you have the perfect sentence, you will not speak. If you wait until you have the perfect accent, you will avoid conversations. If you wait until you feel no fear, you will be waiting forever. Confidence does not come first. Confidence comes after you survive the moments that scare you. I tell my students this all the time. Fluency is not the ability to speak without mistakes. Fluency is the ability to keep going, even when the sentence is messy. It is the ability to stay in the conversation. It is the ability to repair, to rephrase, to correct yourself without panic. Native speakers do this constantly. We just do it without shame. And shame is the real enemy, not mistakes, shame. A lot of you are carrying shame that does not belong to you. Maybe a teacher corrected you too harshly. Maybe someone laughed. Maybe you felt embarrassed in a meeting. Maybe you are comparing your real self in your native language to your English self, and you hate the difference. That shame creates tension, and tension kills fluency. So if you want a practical shift, start here. When you speak, aim for connection, not performance. Aim for clarity, not perfection. Ask yourself, did they understand my point? Did I stay engaged? Did I communicate something real? If yes, you are winning. Now, another reason Tesla's story matters is because he reminds us that being different is not automatically a problem. Many adult learners think their accent is a problem, or their rhythm is a problem, or their word choice is a problem. Sometimes, sure, you want to improve clarity, but having an accent is normal. It is human. It is proof you learned another language. And in most real-life situations, what people respond to is your energy. Are you present? Are you friendly? Are you clear enough? Are you confident enough to keep going? Think of the people you respect, in your job, in your life. Do they speak perfectly all the time? Or do they speak with purpose? Do they communicate like a human? Tesla had a different mind. He did not blend in, and that made his life harder, but it also made his contribution possible. If he had been more normal, he might have been more comfortable. But the world might have lost something. I am not saying you should become awkward on purpose. I am saying stop apologizing for being a learner. Stop shrinking yourself. Stop treating your English like a permanent weakness. It is a skill in progress. Let me give you a very real example I see in my students. They will tell a story, and they want it to sound like a movie. Perfect vocabulary, perfect timing, perfect humor. But because they are trying to create a perfect story, they speak slowly, they pause too much, and they lose the listener. Then they feel embarrassed, and they talk even less next time. But when I tell them, just tell me the story in a simple way, like you are talking to a friend, everything changes. They get more natural. They use easier words, yes, but their personality comes out. The listener feels them. That is the goal. Your English should feel like you, not like a textbook. Tesla, in many ways, lived in his own world, and sometimes that made him hard to understand. So, here is another lesson. You have to meet people halfway. In conversation, do not make your listener do all the work. If you are explaining something, give a small example. If you use a word you are not sure about, rephrase it. If you feel stuck, say it another way. That is not weakness. That is communication skill. For example, maybe you want to say, I was overwhelmed, but you cannot remember the word overwhelmed. So you say, I had too many things at the same time. I felt stressed. That is great English. That is real. That is how people speak. Or you are in a meeting and you want to disagree, but you are afraid of sounding rude. You can say, I see your point, but I think there is another option. Or, that makes sense, and I am wondering if we could also consider this. That kind of language is not about perfect grammar, it is about social comfort. Tesla struggled with social comfort. You do not have to. Now, let us talk about thinking in English, because this is one of the biggest blocks. Many of you translate, you build the sentence in your native language, then you try to convert it into English. That is slow. That creates pressure, and under pressure, your brain forgets words you actually know. So what do you do instead? You start building small English habits. Not huge, small. When you wake up, name what you are doing in simple English. I am making coffee. I am getting dressed. I am checking my messages. It sounds childish, but it is powerful because it trains your brain to access English without translation. When you walk outside, label what you see. Traffic is heavy. The weather is nice. That guy is in a hurry. Again, simple, natural English. When you have a feeling, name it in English. I am nervous about this call. I am excited for the weekend. I am annoyed. I am relieved. Emotions are where language becomes real, because emotions are what we talk about every day. And if you are listening to this episode, here is something you can do right now. As I speak, do not translate every sentence. Just follow the meaning. Let some words float by. Trust that your brain is picking up patterns. This is how you build intuition. This is how English starts to feel familiar. Tesla had intuition about machines and electricity. He could see patterns other people could not. In a smaller way, you are building intuition about English, not with rules, but with exposure, repetition, and relaxed focus. Now, I want to gently address perfectionism, because many of you are perfectionists. You want to do it right. You want to sound professional. You want to avoid embarrassment. And I understand. Adults have reputations. Adults have jobs. Adults have pride. But perfectionism has a hidden cost. It makes you safe, but quiet. It makes you correct, but slow. It makes you less willing to take risks. And language requires risk. You have to be willing to say something slightly wrong to eventually say it naturally. Tesla took risks with his ideas. Some worked, some did not, but he kept moving. As learners, you need that same attitude, not reckless, just brave. And here is a mindset that helps a lot. Treat speaking like practice, not like a test. Most people treat every conversation like a final exam. They think, if I make a mistake, it proves something bad about me. No, a mistake proves you are using the language. It proves you are in the game. Also, keep in mind that native speakers are not sitting there judging your grammar the way you imagine. Usually they are thinking about themselves. They are thinking about what they will say next. They are thinking about their day. If you are clear and friendly, most people are on your side. Of course, you will meet impatient people sometimes. You will meet rude people. That is not your fault. That is their personality. Do not let one bad interaction teach you the wrong lesson. Tesla met plenty of people who did not support him. That did not erase the value of his work. And one impatient person does not erase the value of your English. As we come toward the end of this story, I want to leave you with a picture. Imagine Tesla late at night, alone, sketching ideas, hearing the hum of the city outside, believing in something that most people cannot see yet. That image is sad in one way, but also beautiful. It is the image of someone who refuses to stop thinking, refuses to stop creating. Now imagine you practicing English. Maybe you are listening to podcasts, repeating phrases, having small conversations, making mistakes, trying again, building a new version of yourself. That is not small. That is not silly. That is brave. And it matters. Because English is not just a subject. For many of you, English is access. It is better work. It is travel with less stress. It is friendship. It is love. It is expressing your opinions. It is feeling like you belong in rooms that used to feel closed to you. And yes, there is a price. The price is discomfort. The price is awkward moments. The price is sounding less smooth than you want for a while. But that price buys freedom. Tesla paid a price for his mind. And I do not want you to pay an unnecessary price for your English by isolating yourself, by staying silent, by hiding. I want you to take the healthier path. Speak before you feel ready. Keep it simple. Stay human. Let your personality come through. So here's what I want you to do after you finish listening. Just one small thing. The next time you speak English today, do not try to impress anyone. Just try to connect. Say one real sentence that you actually mean. Something honest, something useful, something that sounds like you. And if it comes out imperfect, let it be imperfect. Keep going. Because the goal is not to sound like a robot who never makes mistakes. The goal is to sound like a person, a real person, living a real life, using English as a tool to connect with the world. And if you take anything from Tesla's story, let it be this. The world does not always reward what is valuable right away, but that does not mean it is not valuable. Your progress may feel slow. Other people may not notice it. You may have days where you feel like you are not improving at all, but inside, patterns are forming. Confidence is forming. Your brain is building new pathways, and one day you will speak and realize you did not translate first. You just spoke. That is the moment I want for you. Keep going. Keep it simple. Keep it real. And I will talk to you again soon.